All right, we're live here on the Desire Over Doubt show. It's been a while since we've done this, but yeah, we're back. This is kind of a special episode because there's been a lot of questions circulating. There's been a lot of I don't know what you call it, a lot of animosity, a lot of curiosity. Any of the osities really would probably be the best way to describe it. I think if you don't know what we're talking about the situation, the ongoing situation with the USPA, and I'm not referring to the United States Parachuting Association, which I am a member of.
By accident.
By accident, I was signing up for my USPA membership a couple of years ago. I had had a couple of beverages and was not really paying attention, and so I went through the entire sign-up process for the Parachuting Association. And yeah, it turns out I am a lifetime member now. That was $125 well spent. And I was a little confused as to why the price had gone up, but I didn't really think anything of it. And now I'm a lifetime member, and wouldn't you know it, I'm deathly afraid of heights and will never jump out of an airplane.
But the good thing is that there's no issues with the Parachuting Association. It's
No.
the Powerlifting Association.
So we're finally there. We've rounded by way of time.
There we go.
It's a good story. I think it's a good story. Don't you?
Yeah.
It's a nice story. It's funny. Because I'm a funny guy. So, excellent for someone who is afraid of heights. Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely. But you know what? From what I understand, like you just said, there's no issues with that with their organization right now. They're apparently smooth parachuting, all open canopies. All right. So we're talking about the United States Powerlifting Association, owned and is run by Steve Dennison, Mike Tronsky, and formerly a board of directors that is no longer with us because it was disbanded. So if you don't know, we'll go give you actually brought me onto this way back when this first started with Goob, and so what did you first see? Like, how did you find out? Like, what did you see? What was the first thing that you remember seeing with this whole controversy?
So, for those of you who don't know, there's an Instagram account called GoobU2, and it's this guy who's a bodybuilding coach. Mm-hmm. He's pretty well known in like the bodybuilding and powerlifting community, and his whole thing is exposing fitness frauds. So usually what he does is it's like really things that are like not super serious. It'll be like, oh, an influencer with 100,000 followers who like edits their photos, or somebody who's like not qualified selling something that only a very qualified person should sell, stuff like that. But then he ventured into the powerlifting world, mm-hmm. and I saw this story that he posted about, I think, this referee from Vermont. Was she from Vermont?
That was Vermont, the Vermont state chair.
So,
if I'm not mistaken.
The Vermont state chair got into an argument with one of her neighbors over their dogs. Something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
Some neighbor dispute.
And there was video footage of this woman sticking her hand down her pants, rubbing her private parts, and then rubbing it all over her neighbor's door handle, and all like she's just like cussing her out and all this crazy stuff. And there had been issues reported about this woman before.
Yep.
And
nothing was done
about these things. And then this just kind of unleashed a whole can of worms about all of these allegations against different officials within the USPA, and the whole thing just like blew up.
So I'm just going back and trying to revive my memory a little bit on some of the instances that happened. It would take all night to go over all the stuff, the individual instances.
So much.
But needless to say, it's a lot. There was a lot of stuff brought to light. The biggest issue I believe that people have with it was the lack of handling from the top of the organization, and the fact that stuff was brought up from a couple of years ago where certain people said that they were going to handle and take care of things, and they didn't. And when I say that, I've been pretty vocal about it. I've talked to Goob and Joe Sullivan, who Joe went and was an advocate for the lifters during one of the very first group phone call. Since then, they have not taken his advice, to put it lightly, as an advocate for the lifters. And I know Joe has pulled out of any of the USPA meets.
Has he?
Yeah, he's not competing in USPA anymore. His lifters, nobody, because he was unhappy with the response after the phone call. That kind of like a lack of response, for lack of a better term. And then I was lucky enough to be included on the calls that came after that. So I mean, I did voice my opinion. If you know me, I'm not a quiet guy. So I definitely voiced my opinion and offered solutions. I tried to get them to look at this like it was an opportunity to change and get better. I felt like it kind of fell on deaf ears at first, to say the least.
I think it's still falling on deaf ears.
And I'm looking at this. So what I was writing earlier was I'm looking at this at like two different phases.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at this as like the beginning, the goob phase where he brought everything to light, and then the like post group meeting phase, because we've had two of those group meetings now, and there's been a lot of frustration voiced. You were here, you sat here with me.
I sit here and listen,
and it's just like that first phone call was 3 hours long. It was 30 people, and we were. Everybody has an opinion, but I mean, when it comes to the stuff that we're talking about, allegations of sexual assault, physical assault, violence, anything like that, there's a zero tolerance. There should be zero tolerance on any of that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what variation or grade of sexual assault you think it is. This guy out in the West Coast, and I'm just gonna attack him directly. Darren is his name. He was on the call yesterday, 2 days ago, and he was very dismissive of sexual assaults.
Yeah, he basically said, show me the victims. A string of text messages or a picture doesn't prove anything, when it's literally strings of text messages or personal messages between the owner of this gym and multiple members of this gym, when this guy is a registered sex offender.
And if that's not proof enough, he's a registered sex offender.
He's a registered sex offender. There was another instance where a referee had thrown a glass at a girl's face and hit her in the face.
Messed her up good.
Messed her up. And he also was soliciting paid sex from other female officials.
And these are two different people.
These are two different people.
This is just two examples. And this meat director out in California, Darren, who I believe unfortunately garnered some support with what he was saying, was very dismissive of these and is like, well, sexual assault has different levels and all this shit. It doesn't. Your fucking sexual assault, there's a very different line that gets crossed compared to theft or, an angry fist fight at a bar. It's a very different mindset. It is a mental health issue at that point. I have done this for a living. I have interviewed sexual predators. I have helped put sexual predators away, and I will tell you a story to bring everything into light, and hopefully this guy Darren will hear it and understand that sexual predators are very different when it comes to committing crimes, because in their head it's not a crime. In their head it's natural. And there's one gentleman that we interviewed, I was fortunate, he came to when I was getting certified as a sexual assault investigator, he came and did a talk to the class. And he said, I've had chemical castration, I've been to therapy, I've done all these different things that the state has ordered. He said, but if I'm down in the subway and I see a 14-year-old boy standing like 15 feet away, I have to turn and leave because I'll never change. And that was true of everybody I talked to that we would consider in society as a sexual predator. So I don't think there is any room or a line or any reason to allow any of it in the league at all. And you should definitely take it seriously. You should never discount a victim. If a victim comes forward, then nobody's going to come forward. If you start discounting victims and saying things like what he said, show me the proof, nobody needs to show you anything because it's not your problem.
But also, there is proof.
And there is proof
available to millions of people on the internet. Everybody has seen the proof. The national office has seen the proof and did nothing about it.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's been the biggest problem. So during these calls, it's becoming evident that it's going to be a lot more. People are now arguing as to the gradient scale of what is considered sexual assault. I say the law has already done that work for us.
Yes.
You know, people were even saying like, well, you know, somebody was, you know, drunk and they were peeing outside of a building and they're on the sexual offender list. Okay, but that's illegal for a reason.
Right.
And why is it illegal for a reason? People can just pee outside. Well, what if there were kids nearby? Was it near a school? Was it, you know, it's illegal for a reason. And so, yeah, that still has to be considered, maybe on a case-by-case basis, but there's still no room for it, because what happens if down the line somebody finds out, and you know what? They're more than just that type of, they're more than just somebody who peed outside. There's more to it. There's probably more to it than that. Who knows? Every story is different. But you have to have a line. You have to have a line in the sand. You have to. And that line in the sand to me is, if you're on the sex offender list, guess what? You can't be an official. You cannot be a spotter or loader. You cannot work in the national office. You cannot be a meat director, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I also think that, like, it doesn't really matter if it's harassment or if it's straight up assault or if you're on the registered sex offender list, whatever. Like, if I come to you with proof that an official has harassed me or solicited sex from me or anything like that, they should be out.
Oh.
They should be done.
It should at least, you need to at least administratively remove that person and conduct an investigation.
Even if, I mean, obviously, it's not illegal for somebody to send harassing text messages.
I mean, it is after a while, but I see what your point is. Absolutely. Most people, that stuff goes unreported.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, the person might not actually have a record of it. That doesn't make it right. And you're right. Like, this stuff has to be looked at. Like, oh, well, they don't have a record. Why didn't they file a police report? And guess what? Not everybody's going to file a fucking police report because they're either afraid to, or they don't want to be looked at, like, in a negative manner. You know, they don't want to be thought of as a slut or something like that. Like, this is real thoughts. This is what people really go through in their mind. And the bottom line is, you protect the victim, not the person committing the act. I don't know why there are people out there that are willing to protect those people. And the biggest issue here that we need to get back to is, for 2 years, the national office did nothing about a lot of these cases, including not firing or not terminating meat directors that were proven to have had issues. Emails were sent to Mike Tronsky, who then said he was going to forward them to HR, which we found out HR only exists for people that work directly for the national office.
Which is a very small group of people,
12 people.
Compared to how large the Federation is.
So there is no HR for lifters, meet directors, referees, stuff like that. So when he said he was forwarding it to HR, and this is in multiple emails in multiple cases, he was lying.
Yep. Again, there's screenshots, there's proof of this, there's voice recordings from these calls that prove these things.
And Carolyn is actually really making a good point. And this is kind of along what we were talking about. You know, people won't report because they'll get it's blaming the victim. The victim gets blamed. And it's like, well, what did you do? What were you wearing? Well, it wasn't that bad. Those kind of things. And there's just no room for it. There's just no room for it. It has me absolutely, like, mind blown over the stuff that has happened, because as we continue down this path, we're not going to stay on this one part, but the first phone call, we were told the board was going to be dismantled. Okay, that supposedly happened. The executive committee, whatever you want to call it, was taken apart. Dismantled, no more. Steve Dennison and Mike Tronsky, we demanded that they not be on the board at the very least. And at the, even better, even more so, we would have liked to see Mike terminated, because he's just untrustworthy at this point. I don't care. Like, I'm not going to beat around the bush anymore. He's untrustworthy. He was defending the past actions as opposed to trying to come up with solutions, and that's just not that. That's just not. I mean, you gotta wonder. Like, there's so many voices out there coming forward right now. It's frustrating. I can't even find the words sometimes, because I don't like people lying to everybody. And then they hired the PR firm.
Yep.
That was a mess.
It was a mess.
They sent out an email.
So they sent out an email after there started to be, like, apologies and that type of thing made, like, almost like a we fucked up kind of from the USPA. And then they hired a PR firm that came and sent an email out to all of the members saying we actually didn't fuck up.
Well,
Yeah, so they almost started to like take a step in the right direction and then hired a PR firm that just pissed a whole bunch of people off. And then of course this also ended up on Goob's page. It just
it ended up everywhere.
because they didn't just send that to one person. They sent it to, I believe, everybody. I mean, I got the email.
Yeah, there's some emails they were sending to just meat directors. Like I was getting some of the meat director stuff, and then there was some stuff that they were sending to the whole league.
Yeah. Well, then there was an email after the PR firm email
From Steve
Dennison himself saying that he fired the PR firm but had approved the prior email, and it was just, for lack of better terms, it was a clusterfuck. So
absolute clusterfuck. He was apologizing for the apologies. Well, they were. I don't even know how to put it. So they are, like you said, they already apologized, and then what? What would you call it? They backpedaled, I
they
guess.
totally backpedaled.
And then he apologized for the backpedaling. I mean, what a disaster. I mean, that PR firm needs to just go out of business because that's just stupid. And then did you see the page they created, USPA Facts, on Instagram?
No, I didn't see that.
So this was a whole other stupid thing that came up. The PR firm started that as well, from what you could tell. Their hands are all over it. So USPA Facts on Instagram, we figured it was going to be facts about everything that's going on. And it wasn't. It was like propaganda bullshit about how good the USPA is. And how nice it is to work for. So they stopped letting people in at 125. So they blocked everybody from coming in at 125. That has since been lifted. And there's like 700 or 800 something people there now. So it has since been lifted since the PR firm has been let go. But
oh my God,
they're still posting kind of like bullshit facts on there, and really the topic, the conversation really needs to be what we're talking about right now. So there's another little tidbit that not everybody recognized. It kind of like breezed through that real quick, and then so then we have, I guess that brings us up to the second phone call, pretty much. Well, you could get into so much because there were so many letters back and forth, and so much like Steve Dennison was he's obviously upset. I don't take that away from him. I do think he's actually legitimately upset.
Yeah.
I think he built this. It's his league. You can't tell the man to like step down. He literally owns it. It's an S corp. So I mean, you can't just be like step down. You'd have to sell the business. And people are like, well, he could step down from being president, but that doesn't change the fact that he owns the business.
Right.
I can call myself president. We own businesses. I can call myself president, CEO, COO, DOO, whatever I want. Doesn't matter. So I think that's a good point. I do think Tronsky needs to go. I really, really do hope that this is like a turning point for Steve. I really do. I don't know if they're going to be able to recover based on the second phone call. I felt more confident after the first phone call than the second phone call.
Well, it kind of seems like they still don't really know what they're doing or what to do. So there were questions asked about like, forming this new executive committee. Okay, well, what does a person need to be qualified? Like, what is the job description for being on the EC? Like, that question is not even answered or defined. They're just like, people seem to think that it's like not important to have run meets, that it's not important that you have experience as a referee or as a coach, that it's like not as important if you have people managing skills or like whatever. And it's so hard to know, okay, what do you need for people in this position? Like, what is the job?
What is the job? There's no job description. And so we were there on this call supposedly to help come up with that job description, but it ended up just being a sounding board for like what constitutes sexual assault and what doesn't for a while. But then we put it back on track a little bit.
Well, not really, because then somebody would ask a question and then Steve would be like, well, what do you think this should entail? And it's like, dude, you're the one who knows
you've been running
the business. Like, you more than anybody should know what responsibilities the executive committee has.
And there was one gentleman on the call who, while he seems to be a very intelligent person, and I understand his point, I do completely disagree with his comment. He was like, well, I work with 300 people around the country with my business, so I mean that probably qualifies me to be on the committee more than a lot of other people. And No, that's like trying to apply apples and oranges here. It's you might work with 300 people around the country, but if you've never run a meet or you haven't run many meets and you haven't been like involved in the lifestyle that is powerlifting, then you know what, you're not going to be as good on that executive committee because you're not going to know the feelings of the lifters, the feelings of the refs, or the meet directors because you haven't been there.
Right.
And experience does count.
I mean, I can see how that skill set would be applied, but I think it would need to be in combination with experience.
Exactly.
Directing meets, coaching lifters, just being at competitions, lifting yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to a talk we had a long time ago where somebody would they would do one meet and then they're like, oh, I'm a coach now. And it's like, no. And that's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, this gentleman, nice guy. I mean, I have nothing against him, but he's a relatively new meet director, and I don't think he understands that the culture. You really need to be involved in the culture of powerlifting to be able to understand, or else stuff like this happens. You're not going to recognize it. It's the same reason, when you're, for lack of a better description, like when you're a police officer, you recognize certain things that the general public doesn't, because you're looking for different things. So when you're in the culture of powerlifting, you know and have experienced things that other people haven't experienced, so you know what to look for. So you can tell when, maybe there's a problem with your referees because you've been around them for this long. And this is an EC where the people are coming from those regions, so you are probably going to know those people if you have been around for a while. And you want them to feel comfortable coming to you. I'd rather go to somebody that I know and that I trust rather than somebody who I've never seen before.
Right.
And I think that also plays a part in it as well.
Yeah, I agree.
And so that's kind of like how that phone call broke down. And then they didn't. Man, I don't know. I had to get off the call because it was like another hour or an hour and a half, and it was just getting to be too much. I don't know what was resolved, if anything, as far as that goes. I know
they did implement the background checks.
They did, which I got today and completed with. It's a good company that's doing it. Actually, it's a volunteer group, but it's actually a pretty reputable place. So, and they are paying for it. That's good. We do want to see that. We want to see that going in the right direction. That's number one. That's everybody. That needs to be done. But that's not enough.
It's not, because this is my thing that I keep coming back to is like, there are a lot of bad people who don't have criminal backgrounds and who aren't registered sex offenders. Like these, like I have seen so many bad people that you would never know that they would act like this because they don't have a criminal history.
That's right.
Like, you don't have to be a criminal to solicit sex from somebody or to send harassing messages. Like, do you know how many people send me harassing messages on a regular basis?
Thanks to social media.
Come on.
It's all the time.
Like, it's just ridiculous to me.
It
and
is.
So that has not really been talked about so much. Everything that has been talked about has been, sexual offender, registered sex offender, or criminal background. Okay, well, what about these text messages of harassment?
Yeah, how are we dealing with that?
What about the guy who threw the glass at the girl's face? He probably doesn't have a criminal background. Like,
I mean, a lot of people don't. I mean, that's
right.
the thing is, and the guy at the gym that was sending these messages and actually has he is on the sex offender registry list. So there was a lot of hubbub, which is, that's an old term. There was a lot of issue with the meet director that ran the meet, saying like, well, I can't believe you would throw a meet in a place where it's owned by a sex offender. Now, mind you, this was a USPA certified gym, which has
there have been multiple meets. We have actually been to this gym.
We've been to this gym, and now, if I was the meet director for that, I would look at that and go, wow, the league has certified this gym. So to me, that would mean that they've done their diligence to have checked and seen if there was any issues. I think the meet director did the right thing and demanded that person be gone during the meet. And actually, that person is no longer even affiliated with the gym. Corporate came and took it over. So, I mean, what do you do in that situation? It's a really tough situation.
I think that the meet director found out like 5 days prior.
She did. And
yeah.
They still put on the meet. but they put on the meet without him. And from what I understand, he did not receive any of the financial gains from that meet. Corporate took him away, took all that away from him, and he was no longer allowed at that gym. So there was a lot of pushback on that meet director. But when you're in that position, there's only so much you can do. When you see the USPA banner hanging up there, you think that national office would have done their diligence and checked on that, or else there wouldn't be an official gym for the USPA,
Right.
would they? I would think. I mean, I probably would have done the same thing, to be honest. I mean, it's the whole thing with Chico, that guy Chico, when all that stuff came out. And they didn't fire him right away. They didn't do anything right away. And there was a big problem there with just inaction. Nobody doing anything. People just trying to hope it goes away. And boy, it didn't. It
No.
really did not this time. So I guess that's most of the updates, which is, and try to make sense of it yourself. We've been trying to make sense of it.
If you want to look at any of the stuff, the page is goob_U2, I think, like the letter U.
And there's some on my
Two.
page too now.
And there's some on the Asgardian Athletics page as well, and there's some on Nate's personal page. But you're gonna find most of it on the Goob page.
And it's he's actually a lawyer. So,
Is he really?
Yeah. So it's I like people going after him, threatening him and stuff. He's actually a lawyer. So the guy he's doing a service right now, and you can't. It's not slander. It's not libel, because guess what? It's true. And for it to be slander or libel, it would have to be a lie, and it's not. And this stuff was actually all admitted during these calls. So the question going forward is, because now USPA has lost all their sponsors, I think, if not all of them, most of them.
All the big ones, at least.
I mean, that's what Pioneer left,
Pioneer was one of the first ones to leave.
if not the first.
Girls Who Powerlift.
Did Texas?
I'm not sure.
Not sure.
I'm not
We
sure if
did.
Texas left. We left.
We pulled out. We pulled our sponsorships. A few others.
I'm not sure about Kabuki either.
I'm not sure either. I know, but there were a few others too
Mm-hmm.
that pulled out their sponsorships. So they lost a lot of sponsorship money. So
I mean,
I'm sure that's a problem.
Pioneer gives so much money to that league.
They really do. Pioneer, and a large part of that was because USAPL didn't allow Pioneer for a long time. They do now, but that's, I feel like they went to USPA because they wanted a home to be able to do that, and now this blew up, and they don't want to choose to put their money there, and that's fine. I agree. We're not either. So we know as a business what direction we're going in, but we also have a team, and we have like 10 lifters in a meet coming up in April. Now, I know we've talked about it, and we're not going to really support the league right now as far as using our referee, because we're both referees in the league, or running meets or anything like that. So, man, we got these 10 lifters going to this meet, and I find it hard to just pull them all out, because my heart goes out to them who've worked so hard.
Yeah.
We even have people flying down from Boston to go to this meet.
Cerberus.
Cerberus was one, yeah. Yep, Cerberus did also back out. But we got people flying down. In fact, Steve Barrett, the person who just left that comment, is flying down to do this meet. So, I mean, I don't think we can tell the team, hey.
No, I mean, I think that there should be a discussion with the team about it. Like,
Sure.
Maybe we could all get together or something like that and just have a discussion about moving forward. But I do think that we need to take the team to this competition, and we just need to look out for everybody and do the best that we can.
Which we always do, and they always will. Our team kick ass.
We always do that. But the fact that there's literally like 10
that's a
lifters,
lot. But I don't want it, the optics aren't great on that either. So it looks like almost hypocritical, but it's like you gotta think of your lifters too, and how much work they put in to this, and they've already paid. Everything's already done.
That's the biggest thing.
They're not gonna get their money back.
They're not gonna get their money back. They've already paid, and that's, if we pulled them out of this meet, I would feel the financial responsibility.
Yes.
Yeah, like I would feel like we needed to pay entry fees into another meet, and then you're talking about, okay, well, WRPF is not in Georgia, right?
Yeah.
USAPL is yet,
Coming soon.
yeah, yet. You've got, they're in Florida though,
They are in Florida, but still.
it's
Those
then
meets are
you're
larger meets,
expecting
though.
they're larger meets, they're more expensive,
They're harder to
and
get into.
they're usually in South Florida.
Yeah, and that's now you're talking about like travel
Right.
to places like Miami, Tampa,
Right.
Like
And
that.
or you're talking about maybe potentially a USAPL meet, which is in Georgia, but then you're talking about again paying for more entry fees,
And different rules and
different
stuff. So
different rules. So we have lifters who like bench with their feet up and stuff
you
like
can actually
that.
do that now in USAPL.
Can you really?
Yeah, because they're not IPF. So they changed that rule. They changed their benching rules are almost identical to USPA now.
Really?
Yeah,
I did not
yeah,
know that.
They did change a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm still a referee for them, so I had to go back and like read all the new shit that's coming out. There's definitely a lot of new stuff, like Pioneer's allowed and everything. There's definitely.
That's interesting.
I will say, for as much crap as I gave the USAPL, just because myself and their national office have had some issues in the past that I completely disagree with. Once they pulled away from the IPF, they kind of went in a direction that they're kind of going in a better direction.
I would agree with that.
I do think there's a lot to clean up there too, but that's not the topic of conversation right now. There's definitely a lot going on there that on their top shelf, their top tier that needs to be looked at as well. But that's neither here nor there. We're talking about USPA. And I think after this meet, that's it for our lifters as far as USPA goes, as of right now. I'm not going to say never.
I mean, for myself too. I mean,
I'm not. I mean, we've been lifting in WRPF anyways, so nobody can be like, oh, they jumped ship and went to. We've been doing it. We've already been lifting in the WRPF, you and I. So it's not like people are like, oh, look, they jumped ship from USPA and now they're going to WRPF too. No, we've already been there.
We pretty much like all the leagues.
Yeah,
We've had lifters in USPA, USAPL, APF,
We're
RPS.
in WRPF.
Yeah, we don't care as long as it's.
Well, I care now.
I mean,
this one is.
if I had a diehard lifter and they were like USPA, I probably would be like, all right.
I don't know.
I
don't know. I have kind of a strong line on that now. I really do because of my past and because of the stuff that I used to do, and I think that I don't know. I think after this meet, I really don't want to.
I mean, I don't want to be at the meets personally. I don't want to be.
I don't want to support it in any way unless there's an absolute change. And so I'm not saying it can't be revisited down the road and looked at again. But as far as right now, I'm not comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, there is also a chance that the league will dissolve.
There's no sponsorship money right now. There's barely any. I mean, people are leaving in droves.
It's unfortunate.
And these are facts. I'm not talking shit. These are actual facts.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not talking shit. They really did lose sponsors. I'm not talking shit. People are really jumping ship.
I mean, there are meet directors talking about their registrations being open, and they haven't had a new registration in weeks. And for those of you guys who know and are familiar with like how registration works for meets, you gotta like get a spot when an event opens, because a lot of them are limited to like 45 or 60 lifters, and those sometimes they even sell out in like a day or two.
Yeah, you got some meets that are run like every year that sell out. I've seen them sell out in hours.
I mean, Battle of the Bay sells out really fast usually.
Even Battle of the Bay, and obviously your bigger meets. Like,
yeah, that's a big one.
That is a big one. That's like a 300-person meet, and that one sells out real quick. But even like some of your like, I don't want to say more prestigious meets, but more like high level, high caliber, high weight. Those sell out pretty quick too. But yeah, it's just to hear these meet directors say, I had people back out, they're losing people, not gaining people for meets that they're supposed to be running. It's kind of heartbreaking.
I mean, people messaging the national office asking for membership refunds.
Yep. It's happening. Yeah. And so, I mean, that's going to be tough to overcome. I'm not going to ask for any refunds or anything like that. I think, if they're going to make a change, they're going to need whatever resources they have.
Just take the loss.
Just take it. And I hope they make the change. I want them to still see this as an opportunity to make a change. I'm just not as hopeful as I think I want to be. I'm really bummed because I do and have loved this league for quite some time. I originally, if you know anything, was about my career. I lifted in USAPL for a while, and then decided to go to USPA. I thought their meets were a lot more fun, and we ended up becoming referees with them and meet directors and all that shit. And it's just like, to have this is heartbreaking because we basically transferred our whole team after the USAPL split from the IPF. We transferred our whole team basically over to USPA so they could have a world level federation to work towards, which, like, we have people do that this year and to go to nationals and worlds this year.
Yep.
So I mean, we want our team to be able to go to that level, and right now with USAPL there is no international federation they're part of. They're trying to build one, but it's not there yet. So I mean, I want to give our lifters something to do now, not wait 5 years for something to be built. You know, I don't know. So that's, any finishing words, any last comments? This stuff is like draining. I hate talking about this shit for a long period of time. It's just
Seriously,
drains.
it's been going on for like 19 days now, I want to say. 18 or 19
something like that.
days.
Yep. And now even just talking about it for 35 minutes, I'm just like, I want the conversation to stop, and I want them to fix the shit.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that protecting predators is deplorable.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to see more representation
Yes.
in the executive committee going forward. It does not need to be a fucking boys club. There needs to be representation, and y'all need to fucking listen to these women.
Oh, and I'm pulling my nomination from that list. I was one of the people nominated for the new committee, and I'm pulling my nomination. I don't want to be. There are people that are far. I would rather give my nomination to somebody like Trisha Emmerich or somebody to.
Did she get nominated?
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so.
She would be great.
She would be great. She's got a great voice. She knows what she's talking about. She's been around it a long time.
She's got a big heart.
She'd be better at. She'd be a lot better at it than I could be. I would love to, be a part of the change, but we have enough to focus on as it is.
Yep. So show us that you can change.
Yeah, please.
Please
show us that you can change. And guys, if anybody ever has any issues, they just want to talk, they're completely anonymous or whatever, just let us know. We'll be here. We try to pride ourselves on empowerment and making that change. So that's why this hurts that extra much for us, because we really are trying to make the world different in that way. We want people to be comfortable wherever they go. There should be no gym intimidation, and to have this come out like this is just, it's heart-wrenching. So let's rally together, everybody. Let's make sure that we look out for each other the best we can. And as for us, we'll be at USAPL States later this month, 17th, 18th?
17th through the 19th.
So we'll be there in wherever it is.
It's near Atlanta.
Near Atlanta somewhere. So if you're there, we'll be there. Should be a good time.
Yep.
I'm kind of looking forward to that. And then after that, it's my birthday. And then I don't think we have anything until April. Actually, well, we have other stuff, but I don't think we have any meets.
No meets until April.
No meets until April.
April 22nd.
But then on our next...
It'll be my birthday.
And it will be.
In mid-April.
That's right. Zeno's birthday's in a couple of weeks, too. Anyways, we hope... We're actually working on some stuff behind the scenes. We're talking with some people about hopefully creating an outlet for people to lift in a league. I'm not going to go into it any further than that, but hopefully by the time we do another podcast, we'll have some more concrete information on that. So we're hoping to help another league expand into the area, and there's no concrete anything on that yet, but that's what we would like to do, and conversation has been started about that. So hopefully next time we'll have more information for you guys on that. But other than that, I think that's it for now.
Yep.
So I'm Nate, and with me as always
is Savage Cat, and we will
see you
at
in the gym. And end live video.